Welcome to Season 2 of Beyond Sport with Fiona Stewart. In this podcast, we chat with athletes, coaches, and industry professionals at all levels of sport about the benefits that being involved in sport has provided them outside of just the performance side of things. I'm your host, Fiona. I've always wanted to delve deeper into the physical, social, and mental benefits being involved in sport has provided people. This is a completely independent podcast that has been created to share the journey and lessons of top-level sporting professionals, but also your everyday lover of sport. If you like this podcast, I'd really appreciate if you could leave a review and share it with someone who you think would also enjoy it. Make sure you hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts or follow on Spotify so you don't miss the release of each new episode. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at Beyond Sport with Fiona Stewart. Let's get into today's episode. I have the pleasure of being joined by this week's guest, Australian cyclist Breanna Hargrave. Breanna started off in ballet and athletics as a junior, and at 19 gave up ballet to focus on athletics. A national level competitor in athletics in the heptathlon, but Bree wanted more out of herself. She wanted to represent her country. So at the age of 28, with some AIS testing, Bree transitioned to track cycling. During her time sprinting on the track, Bree went to the 2014 Commonwealth Games and won a bronze medal. Bree is a 4-time Australian champion on the track and has lately been making her mark on the road. Bree's determination shines through in this chat and is such an inspiring story to keep chasing your goals. Let's get into today's episode. So today we have Breanna Hargrave with us. Can I call you Bree?
Yeah, Bree's what most people refer me as, so yeah, that's fine.
How are you going today, Bree?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Thank you so much for joining us. It really means a lot. Now, you are a cyclist. Can you tell us a little bit about your sport and how you got into it?
At the moment, I'm both a track and road cyclist. I transferred over from athletics. I used to do the heptathlon and did a bit of a talent transfer of the AIS pretty late in life when I was 28. I just thought I'd exhausted all the avenues of athletics and still really had my goal of representing Australia. So thought I'd better give it a shot. And I got put into the track sprint program. So I did that for a couple of years and I went to the Com Games as a tandem pilot in 2014. And then after that, I was struggling a bit with the old getting too old thing and actually lost my track sprint scholarship with the institute, so transferred to endurance and that track endurance, and that went really well. So I ended up getting back into the SASI program in track endurance, and then recently transferred over to the road, and now I'm back into a bit of track sprinting after I've had a few good results in the sprint. So it's been a bit of a circle, but I enjoy it all the same. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And delving back to your first sporting years, so did you do athletics as a junior and just continued that through your 20s?
As a real junior, I actually was doing ballet. My mum got me into ballet and I enjoyed ballet too, but I always just really wanted to do athletics because one of my best mates was doing that. And I didn't really get serious at it until I was probably high school. I started doing some training after school and that, and I was doing that and ballet until I was about 19, and then I gave ballet away and just focused on the athletics. So I really enjoyed it. Like, I was super passionate about athletics. That's all I wanted to do.
Oh, wow. And the heptathlon, I'm not super involved in the athletics world, but my sister-in-law is Brooke Stratton, so
that's
she's a long jumper.
Yeah.
We're marrying the brothers.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, she probably doesn't know me, but I used to train with Chelsea Yench. She's a long jumper. Yeah, we're good friends. So Brooke's an amazing athlete.
Yeah, so she's in long jump, and long jump's one of the events in heptathlon.
That's right. Yep. So there's hurdles, high jump, javelin, 200, long jump, shot put, and 800.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, they're all so different.
They're over 2 days. I haven't got the order of them right. I've forgotten, it's been that long. But yeah, I think I used to do the high jump. That was my favourite event. And then I was okay at the 800, but I was never like good enough to just focus on one thing, and I was quite short for a high jumper. So I just became a bit of a jack of all trades, I guess. Yeah, it was fun. Training was so fun because one day you're doing high jump, then long jump the next day, and then you're throwing, and you always got to stay really fit. So I think it helped develop a good basis for all sorts of sports. But yeah, I loved it. I just loved being out on the track.
Yeah. Oh, I could imagine you having to, you'd be all over the place, but it'd be so good because you'd never get bored.
Never get bored, that's right. Everything's different.
So then you've obviously made the transition to the track cycling. And then how far is the track cycling? How short are the events?
So the sprint cycling, so there's the three sort of main events are the 500 metres, which is 2 laps of the velodrome from a standing start. And then there's the match sprint, which is like you do a flying 1 lap or flying 200 to qualify you. And then it's like a round robin. I don't know if you've seen like the cat and mouse sort of race, sort of what Anna Meares would have raced.
Okay.
And then the third race is the Kirin. So that's 6 laps, 3 laps behind a motorbike to build the speed up. And that's with 6 or 8 riders. And then the motorbike pulls off and then there's 3 laps to go. So, and then apart from that is the team sprint. So they're the 4 sprint events on the track cycling. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So they're all kind of different as well.
Yeah, they're kind of different, but they're usually, sort of over in like under a minute. It's quite short, sharp, powerful stuff. But I think the main difference between cycling and running, so I was never really a pure sprinter as a runner, but I think the main difference is with the cycling gearing, it becomes important. So you can be fast because you've got good power to weight on a big gear, rather than just being able to turn your legs over fast like a sprinter would on the track, for example, running. Yeah, so it means, I think, if you're strong, you can still be fast, even if you're not full fast twitch fibres, I think. Anyway, that's what
about
I've
wattage, pushing out those watts.
Yeah. Watts, and a bit of power to weight comes into play, I think, on the bike more so than probably just pure sprinting in athletics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. And then you've gone, and I liken this to, because I was a swimmer, to going from the pool to the open water. You've gone from the track to the road. How did you find that?
I guess the doors were sort of shutting a little bit on the track. I lost my SASI scholarship. Being older is, always harder to keep getting your scholarship. So the doors were closing and I was still not finished with my sport. So, yeah, I just started thinking, okay, well, at least on the road I can train as much as I like. And I think I rode a few years ago in the Tour Down Under and met someone through that, and then I got into a Japanese road team. So last year I did some of the Asian UCI races, which were really cool. So, yeah, I was just trying to keep my career going maybe. I wasn't finished yet.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I really like that. And I'm only 25, but I definitely saw in swimming the girls are usually about 16, 17 when they peak. And if they haven't peaked yet and gotten to that level, then they usually drop off. And I was one of the last ones that were not at that level holding on. And you do kind of feel it a little bit. So I can see where you're coming from. But it's good that you didn't give it up, because I did.
Yeah, I think because I didn't start cycling till I was a lot older, I just felt like I hadn't exhausted all my avenues, and I was still improving. I think when you're still improving, it's very hard to just let it go. I guess with athletics, I'd got to a point where I just was plateauing, so that was a little bit easier to make the transfer. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really good stuff. I like that you're still going. So you can either say athletics or cycling, but was there a specific moment that you knew you were passionate about it?
Yes. When I thought about that question, it's funny. Like I don't know. I think I was born passionate about sport. Like ever since my earliest memories are at primary school sports days, like just being like super competitive and getting upset if I didn't win. And I think, those days, my best friend at the time was actually really good at athletic, and I always came second to her. And I think that made me like really hungry to win and get better. And yeah, I've been passionate about sport probably ever since that age. Yeah. Used to
Yeah, I
drive my
love that.
parents crazy.
Oh, was it the topic at the dinner table?
Oh, I think my mum used to just be like, you're not going to win everything, because if I didn't win something, whether it be, that could have been something academic or a race at school, I'd get really grumpy, and she'd be like, you just got to learn you're not going to win everything. But yeah, they were pretty good with like getting me to watch the Olympics and that sort of thing. And I do remember being quite young and watching the Olympics and just being like, yeah, that's what I want to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who was it, if you were thinking athletics wise, who was it that you really looked up to?
There were lots of people. I mean, in cycling, probably like Chris Hoy. He's not Australian, but one of the track sprinters. Oh, there's been so many. In athletics, Kathy Freeman. Yeah, she was probably really inspiring to me. I met her when I was quite young, and yeah, I just remember, in the Olympics, her winning the 400, and yeah, that was a pretty cool moment, because I remember the amount of pressure that was on her to win that event was pretty high, and she still pulled through. So yeah, I'd say probably Kathy Freeman in my younger years, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've grown up and you've represented Australia yourself. So that's incredible that, you had that dream as a kid and now you're doing it.
Yeah. Going to the Com Games was certainly like a highlight for me. But yeah, my goal still is to represent Australia even further. I was on the tandem when I did that, and I've been, so close to be able to do it as an individual athlete. Is sort of what my next goal is, and yeah, still hoping I can achieve that, even though I'm pretty old in terms of cycling. Yeah.
No, that's
But
all
yeah,
right.
like,
You still got time.
still got time. That's right. That's what I'm here to prove.
Is there, other than you've mentioned the Com Games, but is there any significant milestones, either wins, losses, or injuries along your sporting journey?
Oh, look, like really early days, I remember forever as a younger athlete just being like really keen to make the state team in athletics. And so I do remember like how stoked I was when I actually made my first state team and got to represent South Australia, and like I was super proud of that. Probably another big moment was after I lost my SASI scholarship first time, and I kept training and went to the next nationals and managed to win 2 national titles.
Oh, wow.
Like I remember, fighting back the tears after that one, just knowing that I still could come out and do that. And yeah, this year I had some pretty special moments. I had a really good year actually on the road. I won the state road champs in a pretty good field, and then a couple of good track events in front of my family. And yeah, it's always special to get a good win when the people that support you are there cheering you on. Yeah.
Yeah. And how did you go? Obviously, we had a particularly interesting 2020 being COVID. How'd you go in terms of being able to train?
It actually ended up being pretty good for me. I think as an endurance, I was mainly sort of focusing on the endurance side of things last year at the start of the year. And I don't know if you've heard of Zwift. Your partner might be using Zwift. Yeah. So
Oh, yes.
I got stuck into Zwift, and it got me really, really fit. I had a really good year actually. And I think probably because I'm not like a full professional athlete. For me, the lockdown meant maybe less work for a while, and that meant more time to train. So, yeah, for me it was great. I mean, obviously we didn't get as many of the racing opportunities. We missed nearly the whole NRS calendar. And then getting to track nationals last year was a real mission. Like, the borders were closed at that stage from South Australia to Brisbane, so I had to make a decision, and that was that I had to go to New South Wales for 14 days and then cross the border. So, yeah, I left everything at work and we did that, and it was worth it in the end. So that went really well. But, yeah, apart from that, like, yeah, I think it's been a good year anyway for me. I've been really lucky compared to a lot of other people.
Yeah. The NRS is the National Road Series. And did that go on Zwift? I heard something about that being transferred over.
Yep, it did. So we had, I think it was about 6 races on Zwift, and it was good. It was good that they could create something so competitive that you could do, in your own lounge room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was great. It was, very different, and I think most people really appreciated, Cycling Australia making some changes that enabled some sort of racing to go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and even being able to connect. I know my partner has a friend in France, and they do like messenger phone calls while they ride together on Zwift. And like things like that. It's the next level Zoom workouts. Is there? They're talking.
It's great, isn't it? Like, I have a couple of friends overseas as well, and the Japanese road team, they've been doing a bit on Zwift as well. So, yeah, it's great like that, how you can connect with the whole world. Like, last year I joined Aero, which is the Australian e-racing team, and we did they had a couple of pro races where you're racing the pros on the other side of the world. The only problem with that was one of them we had to get up I was getting up at 2:30 in the morning to do a race on Zwift. That was pretty hard. So, yeah, that's the only problem with Zwift racing.
It's the times that you have to get up.
Yeah. They'll improve that next year, hopefully.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. So you've mentioned work. What do you do for work?
So I run a physio business, Active Edge Physiotherapy and Massage in Norwood. So, yeah, I'm a physio, and I've been doing that. I graduated in 2006, so for a while now. I've had the business for 10 years, and probably the number one benefit of it is being able to manage my time so that I can train.
Yeah.
So I train basically in the mornings, and then I work from about 12 till 7, 4 days a week. And, I'm very lucky that I can do that. And then if I need to go away racing, I can too. Yeah, it's a good job.
Yeah, that's awesome. Be your own boss.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's the only way I could do what I do. Otherwise, I would upset the boss too much.
What made you want to be a physio? Was it that involvement in sport?
I think probably from a young age, just being interested in muscles and joints and all that sort of thing. And obviously being around sport a lot, like, you learn about injuries, and I like the rewarding aspect of getting people back to their competition. And, I love working with kids and helping them with growing pains and playing lots of sport. That's probably my ideal sort of patient. But, yeah, it's a good job. It's rewarding for sure.
And you probably get to meet all different people and help them get back to what they want to do.
Yeah, that's the best part of it, I think, when people can, get over an injury and get back on track. Yep.
What are the benefits sport has provided you as an individual that's transferred over to other avenues of your life?
Probably the main thing is like trying to be pretty organised. Yeah, time management is super important. If you're going to try and fit in like 4 hours of training and then go to work, if you're not good with your time, then you won't get everything done. Goal setting. I think goal setting is huge. Ever since I've been a kid, I've had a list of goals stuck next to my bed and, you know, I see every day, and I think that transfers to the business. You know, I've got goals for the business too. I think like nutrition, I've learned a lot through my sport about health and nutrition, which is helpful for everyone in the rest of their life, and probably teamwork and communication as well. I think they're definitely skills that can cross over. Yeah, sport can teach you so much for sure.
Yeah, 100%. You've been lucky enough to be involved in, I guess you can call it 3 different sports, even though there's more subsections in there. But that's, yeah, they're awesome lessons.
Yeah, I think they're good for the rest of your life for sure.
Yeah. So you've mentioned the benefits. Is there any extra lessons you've learned along the way that you want to share?
Probably the biggest lesson I've learned, I've always sort of been fighting the whole, like, you know, being a lot older than the athletes that are getting considered for selection for events and stuff. And so I haven't always sort of come through the actual system that the normal way that people get into a sport quite young, you know, through the institutes and that sort of thing. So I guess one thing I have learnt is that, you know, if you're determined and persistent and stuff, that there's more ways than one to skin a cat, I guess. You do spend a lot of time trying to figure that out, you know, and it's challenging, but yeah, being persistent. Like I've had to sometimes look elsewhere for coaching advice, sponsorship, that sort of thing. But yeah, I've been super lucky. I've had, you know, a handful of sponsors, Australian Muscle, Anytime Fitness, Vi13, GKA Sports Store and Revy's Energy. They've all supported me, like, you know, for ages. And without that, I don't think I would be able to get to the level that I have. Yeah, it's taught me that even though there's a process usually to get where you are, if that's not working, it's worth looking at other ways to achieve your goal, you know, before you give up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's been an important lesson for me, definitely.
Yeah, and I guess that one crosses over to all sports and all different areas in life. Like if you've hit that roadblock, don't just stop and turn around, find another path.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's more roads than just the one. Yeah.
And the main road might be a bit more boring than the off-track four-wheel driving roads.
100%. That's right. Yep, 100%. You might take a longer way to get there, but yeah, I think that's probably a big lesson I've learned for sure.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good one. I like that. So have you been involved in a project where sport has been used as a tool to develop the community?
Yeah, this is a good question. I wouldn't say in a project as such. It did remind me of when I was a little bit younger. I had the opportunity to live in Fiji when I was, would have been like 13, 14. And I went to a Fijian school there for 6 months. And at that school, every single student was required to stay after school every day for athletics training. And yeah, I think what that did for that community was huge, like it, you know, for health and just bringing people together. The whole school was known as like the athletics school, and they were super successful. And yeah, I think that was probably an example of where sport's been, you know, super helpful for a community, definitely.
Yeah, and I think people are starting to see sport as that tool as well. It's not just a fun activity. It can be a tool to help people. I think it's AFL. They're doing some kind of, I don't have it off the top of my head now, but they do some kind of like social football program that helps get, I think it's disadvantaged kids off the streets.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? I think, you know, yeah, if they can keep doing those sorts of things, like AFL's got so much power, it's so popular, and yeah, I'd like to be involved with something like that, definitely.
Yeah. Have you just popped your hand up to develop a cycling one?
Yes, when in all my free time, that's a good idea. But yeah, there's a lot of I've done a couple of rides. We did a ride a couple of years back. I think it's the Ronald McDonald ride for like childhood cancer. We participated in that. Didn't do the full ride, but there are quite a few sort of community cycling events like that that occur. So yeah, it's definitely something that maybe in my later years I'll get a bit more into. Yeah.
Once you've retired your athletic ambitions.
That's right.
No, I like that. And I think MS also do some kind of ride.
Yeah, I think so too. There's quite a few organisations. I think the good thing about cycling is like with the kits and stuff, you know, you're able to publicise a lot on that. So yeah, that definitely helps with those sort of community rides. They can get a bit of awareness out there, and that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. You can say this broadly, I guess, or you can say it's cycling specific, but where do you see the future of sport?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think like lately I've really noticed a huge emphasis in sport through things changing through social media. And I think that this has positives and negatives. I think with cycling, it's really great for sponsorship, and you know you can really get a company or a brand out there through social media using like the athletics or the athletes' profiles and that sort of thing. I think that's great. I think sometimes sometimes you see people maybe getting more opportunities because their social media is better than others, and I think that's probably the side that I don't necessarily love. I'd like to think that, you know, for young kids coming through a sport, it doesn't matter about their social media profile, whether or not they progress to the next level in a certain sport. So I hope that in the future for those young kids, it's more based on actual results and objective measures rather than, your social media presence. So
how many followers you have.
Yeah. So I hope, that doesn't become something that overtakes, your normal selection policy and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's a fine line, I think, because there's definitely lots of good things about social media, and we just have to be really good at working out that, what's real and what's not as well, But yeah, I think that's going to be huge in the future. I think the other thing that's probably been good in the last 10 years is the change in women's sport. Like there's been, some really good developments, women's AFL and the Women's Cricket League and women's soccer. It's been really great to see how far that's progressed now, and I hope that continues. Yeah, and even women's cycling, I feel like there's definitely a bigger presence now, which is, really great. I think we're lucky as female athletes, like particularly in cycling, that we're able to train alongside the men who have so much higher power outputs and that sort of thing. So we're constantly getting pushed to be at another level, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And they don't really have like a crazy level above them to train with. So I think we're super lucky as female athletes to train alongside the men, and that's in all sports,
I really like that perspective of, female athletes training alongside the men, because like I mentioned, I was one of the older female swimmers when I was swimming in my little club. And so I had to train with the boys because there was no girls my age. And that made me faster than them. So they were all at the same level and I was down here, but I had to try hard and I got pushed and they didn't.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And then, if you can train like that and then you might come back and race just the females, then, you can notice the difference for sure. I think, we're really lucky like that. And in Adelaide, in cycling in particular, there's some excellent cyclists here all around. So we're pretty lucky with the people that we can train with.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so you've mentioned your ambitions to make a Australian team individually. So are you thinking like world champs or Com Games, or are you shooting for the Olympics?
Yeah, obviously Olympics is the dream. Short term, I'd absolutely love to make the next Com Games. The women's team sprint is going to 3 people, and being sort of a bit of an endurance athlete and a sprinter, I think I'd be hoping to get a look in for the third person in the women's team sprint. Yeah, so that's probably my next goal, and see how we go with that.
So when is the next Com Games? We're about a year and a half away.
Yeah, so 2022. So yeah, not that far. You know, there could be some world champs or world cups before then. And I think we've got track nationals and Oceanias coming up in the next couple of months. So yeah, I think that'll be another opportunity to put some good times down and yeah, see how I go.
Yes, exciting times ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure we all wish you the very, very best on the pursuit to the 2022 Com Games and then hopefully the 2024 Olympics.
Thank you. Thanks very much for having me on. I feel very honoured to be on your show.
Oh, no worries. Thank you for listening to another episode of Beyond Sport with Fiona Stewart. If you liked this episode, please share it with someone that you think would also like it. If you want to find out more, you can find us at Beyond Sport with Fiona Stewart on both Facebook and Instagram. Until next time.